So look, I do encourage you to keep your videos on if you can, to, you know, talk to people and wave and things, or to talk through the chat, because it's lovely to kind of be in touch with people whilst we're all socially distancing. So I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of all the lands that we're working on and meeting on, and pay our respects to their elders past and present. My name's Philippa Morn. I am a program manager at Regional Arts WA. Regional Arts WA is a membership-based organisation, and we're the state's only multi-arts organisation with a purely regional focus. And so we're really pleased to be hosting our second chat during this unusual time, and it is lovely to see so many people on the call. We will be recording the chat and putting it on the website. I have promised Nikki that, you know, that we can edit it a bit if there's any kind of concerns, but I'm sure that that won't be a problem. So now I would love to get a bit of a sense of who is on the call, and there are some people who are calling in from phones, because the call out went out through the regional Department of Local Government, Sport and Culture offices. There are potentially people from arts organisations, sports organisations, community organisations. So I'm going to, because we've got some people on the phones, I'm going to unmute you all, and I might ask you to either wave or click your fingers, particularly if you're on the phone, so we can get a bit of a sense of where people are coming from. So if you're from an arts organisation, can you click your fingers or wave? Cool, thank you. Cool, thank you. If you're from a sports organisation. Hey, hello. Clicking your fingers.
That's right.
A community organisation. Lovely. And if you identify as an arts and community organisation. Yeah, got a few of those. Sport and community organisation.
Hello. Wait, what did you say? Did you say?
And is anyone from an arts and sport organisation?
Oh, okay. Oh, okay, sure.
We've got one person at least who's from an arts and sport organisation.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool.
Very cool, very cool. Thank you all. Thank you all. And can I quickly have a show of hands from Kimberley? Hello, hello, from the Pilbara. Oh, anyone? Yes, there's someone from the Pilbara. Hello, hello. Gascoyne. Hello, Gascoyne. Midwest. Hello, Midwest. Is there anyone in from the Wheat Belt tonight? Hello, that's my stomping ground. Goldfields Esperance. Wow, great. Hello, I haven't seen you guys before. Lovely to see you. Peel. Anyone from the Peel? Yes, there we go. Hello, lovely. Southwest. And the Greats have it. Oh, and a couple of thumbs up. Beautiful. Thank you all. It's so, yes, great. Terrific, terrific, terrific. Okay, look, please say hi to each other during the conversation. Please keep in touch. If you've got a question, you can either ask it in the chat function, or there's at the bottom of your screen, there's a raise your hand function, and I will be able to see that come up. We may end up doing questions probably closer towards the end though. So I would like to introduce you to Nikki Miller from Lotterywest. Nikki Miller is the Senior Grants Policy Officer, and she's going to talk to us about the Lotterywest COVID-19 Relief Grants. I might just hand over to you, Nikki.
Hello. Hi everybody, it's fantastic turnout. This is the biggest Zoom meeting I've ever been in, so we'll see how it goes. I'm not sure how to work it with so many people on. I can only see one screen at a time, but we'll see we'll see how we go. It's good to get an indication. So we've got people from all arts, sports and community. How should we begin? So most of you will know that Lotterywest has launched these two programs. We're being delivered in partnership with the Department of Local Government, Sport and Culture and the Cultural Industries. So we've got the Events Cancellation Relief for arts, sports and community groups. And so we've got 3 streams of that. So the applications have already opened. They opened Friday the 24th of April and the closing date is midnight Wednesday the 13th of May. You have to contact Lotterywest, so by phone or email, to request the application form. And the only reason we've done it like that is, well, Lotterywest always works like that, to check the eligibility, because that's a big issue for Lotterywest, is eligibility. We have to apply, we have to abide by the Lottery Commissions Act, and we have to be, only eligible organisations can get our funding. And this is slightly changed in the sports streams of these grants, but we can get into more detail of that. So for the Events Cancellation Relief, the idea of this was that we would cover cancellation costs incurred and committed related to the events cancelled between the 16th of March and 15th of September this year. And you can also seek support relating to actual or anticipated revenue that you were going to need to deliver the services or programs. So you've got to show that that the cancellation has resulted in financial hardship. So the way that you apply, you get in contact with Lotterywest, you speak to someone, you have to send in, if you've had a grant with us before, it's a 99% chance that you're going to be eligible. If you haven't had a grant with us before, just speak to the officers there, and I can talk a little bit more about eligibility in a minute. So for sports and recreation organisations, there's up to 5 million available in that stream. For culture and arts organisations, there's up to 5 million, and for community orgs, there's up to 4 million available. And then we've got our other program, which is resilient arts, sports and community groups, and this is, we're just trying to keep essential organisations alive really during this difficult time. So altogether there's 25 million available. Same timeline, and you're allowed to apply for both, but obviously don't ask for the same thing in both. We don't want any overlap. And so similar again with streams for sport and rec, there's up to 8 million available, and again up to 8 million available for arts and culture, and up to 9 million relief for other community orgs. And this is really, yeah, just to keep key orgs going. So we want you to be able to maintain staff, pivot your operations, collaborate, think of new ways of working, maintain viability, and build some resilience. Do you want me to talk a little bit about the eligibility? Because I heard that was the issue. That was a question that was coming in before this started. So as I said, if you've had a grant from us before, there should be no problem applying. And each stream, when you check on our website at Lotterywest, the Lotterywest website, each stream you'll notice has slightly different eligibility criteria. The community sector ones are pretty much the same as normal Lotterywest grants eligibility. There was some confusion around the note about that we're only accepting applications from incorporated associations that have updated their rules in alignment with the Association Incorporations Act of 2015. So I'll just give you a bit of background to that. So Lotterywest operates under the Lottery Commission Act of 1990, and we're only allowed to give grants to eligible organisations. And so when you apply with us, we always need documentation that shows that the organisation is not operated for the purpose of profit or financial gain to its members, shareholders or owners. So we always check the entity documentation for every organisation we give a grant to. And we also have to check that the purpose of the grant is charitable, although that's nice and stretched in this period of COVID-19, and that the organisation is empowered to deliver the grant. But the main thing that we're looking up front first is that that entity documentation shows that you're a not-for-profit. So you don't have to be incorporated, you could be unincorporated, you could be you could be a not-for-profit group that's a company limited by guarantee or limited by shares. You could be a trust, as long as the trust's trustees are not individuals. It gets quite complicated, so the best thing to do is just contact Lotterywest and give them your constitution documents, and they'll check and let you know. But the majority of our grant clients are incorporated associations, and if you don't know what you are, you can quickly check your org status by looking at, I don't know if you've all heard of the ACNC, the Australian Charities and Not-for-Profits Commission, but their website is just www.acnc.gov.au, and they have this great little tool that you can check. You can check if a charity is registered or not-for-profits registered. So the reason why that 2015 rule is in there is because the Association and Corporations Act requires certain clauses to be in your entity deeds, and so it requires, for example, both not-for-profit clauses relating to the management, and also very good conflict of interest clauses. So you can look at your documents. Usually it refers to what act it was constituted under, and if you see 2015, then you'll probably be right, because Lotterywest looks really carefully for not-for-profit clauses and appropriate conflict of interest clauses. Yes, and so it might be good if we open for questions, but the process itself is, once you get sent the application form, you work through it. There's a special Excel worksheet that's been attached within it to put in all your financials, or you can use your own if you would prefer to do that. And then, yeah, as long as you submit it on time with all the documentation, we're trying to turn them over as fast as possible to get the money out, hopefully in June. So that's the aim. There's a $3,000 minimum in the requests, but you can feel free to ask for what you need. We're anticipating high demand for the program, but we'll try and accommodate within those budgets as many requests as we can, and they'll obviously be prioritised. There's four key criteria which you'll see in all the documents that you can get off the website. Yeah, so I'm happy to take
Nikki, we've received a question. So you've been asked, if we've been sent the form, do we need to call before submission?
Good question. Probably not. If you've been sent the form, that means that that Lotterywest has checked your documents, and yes, if you want to just double check and call, you can, because this is new to Lotterywest, having closing dates, and we've had to allocate new staff onto intake, and all the processes are being redeveloped. And as you can imagine, it's difficult, staff working at home and everything. And so there might be some forms sent out that later on we discover that someone might be ineligible. So I can't rule that out 100%, but what we're trying to do, the eligibility checks before the forms get sent, so that people aren't wasting time doing something that they're not eligible for.
Is that a good answer, Fiona? You're good. So we have another question. I noticed that the eligibility stated needed to be DLG SCI recurring funding as well. Is that correct, Nikki?
No, they don't have to be. That's as long as you're a not-for-profit organisation operating in the arts. So if this is an arts question, because it's slightly different for sports, as long as they're not-for-profit in arts, and we agree that you're not-for-profit once we've checked your constitution or entity documents, then you're welcome to apply. But what we did before we started the program was we checked all of DLGSC's multi-year funded arts orgs and agreed that they were all eligible. So that's how we've been able to write that into the program as like that.
I think potentially sorry, I'm speaking to Yamaji Arts. The reason that has been specifically laid out is quite often organisations that are in receipt of DLGSC annual funding are then not allowed to apply for things. So it was, I'm assuming that was just about Lotterywest and DLGSC just clarifying for those organisations that they can apply, but it doesn't mean that you have to be one of those organisations.
That's correct.
Yeah, great, okay. Nikki, has there been any discussion about monies being available for events held after 15th of September?
We're at the moment, no. Well, we're looking at just getting this money out, and then there's planning for future programs of what support could be required. But like you, we don't know what's going to happen. So we just want to get, the focus is getting this money out to help people, and then yeah, we'll see.
Okay, thank you. Are local governments eligible?
Well, normally they are. So, but I think for certain of the streams, they might. We'll see. Put it in and try and see what happens. So
that would be a case of giving Lotterywest a call. Okay. So Tony, perhaps you might need to give Lotterywest a call. Nikki, if you're still in the process of acquitting the last grant received, are you eligible to apply?
Lotterywest has been pretty generous in that respect, so just give us a call, whoever you're used to dealing with. I think most people, certainly everyone that's had a grant in the system has been contacted, that's got a current grant in the system, whether it's been approved or not, I think it's been contacted. But if you've got an unacquittal, yeah, don't hesitate to get in touch, and I'd be very surprised if it rules you out from applying.
Okay, great, thank you. Now, Fiona's saying that she saw somewhere that it said that Lotterywest expected to be oversubscribed, so to get in early. Is Lotterywest waiting to assess all of the grants against the criteria, or will you assess them as they come in and make decisions before they're all received?
We won't be making decisions before they're all received, but there is a lot of work in the back end of the handling of them, and there's so many all coming in at once across the different streams and limited staff, so it really helps our system if everybody doesn't lodge it at midnight on the last day. Yeah, so it's not going to be a case of first in, first served, but it's going to stop all the systems crashing and us to deliver on time if we can have a more even spread of when grants come in.
Yes, and potentially there are other grants being announced by other organisations, so potentially also you might be able to move on to looking at another grant. Okay, thank you. So if you're successful for this grant, how would this affect applying for another grant for a different reason down the track?
With Lotterywest? With
Lotterywest, yes.
Oh, look, the same as any grant body would do. They look at what you've had before, and yeah. So essentially, each time it's a case by case. So there's no connection.
So outside of COVID relief grant funding, you anticipate that Lotterywest is just going to return to normal processes, and so if somebody wanted to apply to a regular other Lotterywest grant round, they would just contact Lotterywest and do that sort of process.
For now, that's all we can say. We're looking into the future. We're doing planning now as what will happen post this.
Okay.
Can't say yet.
Great, thanks. Are school PNCs eligible?
Oh, that's a good question. That's always slightly tricky with Lotterywest, so it is a bit of a case by case. So once again, I know in the past there's been some that have. It's a tricky one. So get in touch, because they're not all constituted in the same way, and once again, it always comes back down to us, the actual entity documents and whether they're eligible. So yeah, they're not all the same in each case.
Okay, great. Nikki, can you give examples of what the grant covers? You know, look, if they're looking at revamping a website to include an online gallery shop during this period.
Yeah, I think the programs were designed for you to be creative and think. It's to keep your organisations going. It's not to fund exactly what you were doing before. So if you need to deliver something in a new way, perhaps with the website, then you're welcome to do that. Karen, did you want to answer that with a more specific example? Because I know that you'd thought through some examples. So
also on the call, we've got Karen Burrell and Amber Craig from Department of Local Government, Sport and Cultural Industries, and they're available to answer some of other questions. So Karen.
So in response to that question, yes, absolutely. That is precisely the kinds of things that we're looking for in that grant stream, is to look at ways in which you can do your business differently. So if it requires an online version of what it is that you do, it is certainly something that will be looked at.
Great, thank you. From Morris, what about clubs losing revenue from participating in an event or run by them? For example, this is a good one. For example, P&C's holding stalls at agricultural shows.
Sorry, or is it listed on the questions?
Yes, so Morris is asking, what about a club losing revenue from participating in an event not run by them? So, you know, if they were going to be raising, you know, gaining income through holding a stall at, you know, the Darren Field Days or the Wage and Woolarama or something like that, they've lost that opportunity to raise that income. But it's not their event, so the event isn't theirs, but the opportunity is lost.
That is a really tricky example. So commercial kind of events like the Wage and Woolarama is probably, that's probably not the best example because it's a little bit murky. This is why it's such a tricky area. So, you know, the clearest examples are when it's your own event, obviously, and it's for a charitable purpose. So we've got to look, is the entity eligible? So that's a question on the eligibility anyway with the P&C. And then is the purpose of the grant like replacing it? It's probably, that would be quite a grey application, not as strong an application.
Yes, for the P&C, the event is essentially hiring a stall at a place. So Morris, it sounds like you might need to ring Lotterywest to talk through that one. Sorry, Karen?
My feeling would be that would be a no. But I definitely do think it would be worth giving Lotterywest a call. But the way that it had been conceptualised, I think it was for your own events more than an event that you're participating in.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. There's a few odd examples like charities whose main charity events are run by other people for them. So then it's a question of who should be the applicant. But Karen's right. We were looking at mainly it's for the event organisers to apply.
That's a really interesting thing. Like it's kind of like the second level of community organisations that are impacted by this situation. Question from Robert: why do we need to determine the amount we are seeking for resilience funding in the cancelled funds application? Is that really necessary?
just say that question again?
Why do we need to determine the amount we are seeking for resilience funding in the cancelled funds application?
Oh, that's really just for internally. So obviously the different streams get assessed separately. So if you're not applying for one or the other, obviously that question doesn't apply. And it's really just a check, an internal check for the assessment teams.
Robert, is that clear? Does that answer your question?
Well, really, is it really necessary? Because it's going to hold up one until you can fully determine the other. We just wanted to get our cancelled application in. But if we don't know how much we're going to apply for resilience funding, which is potentially a big exercise, we're just going to be holding back our other application. Anyway, that's...
Yeah, it's a great point, and I'll take it back to the team this afternoon and see if we can get some clarity on that, because yeah, if it was me, I'd want to be putting in my events cancellation first and then working on the other one, as you say. So yeah, I'll bring that up with the team this afternoon, see what they say.
Right, thanks Robert, thanks Nikki. So Diane is asking if we currently have an existing Lotterywest grant, we're able to apply. That's yes.
Most likely, yes.
Yes, yeah. Alex is wondering if we're looking to fund organisations that are definitely going to collapse, or organisations expecting they will collapse.
Well, this is tricky, and that's why you've got to pay really careful attention to the selection criteria. So it's also on the merit of the proposal as well as the hardship you're suffering. So it's not like the most affected are going to be definitely funded. It's also, we've got to look at the merit of the proposal and the overall benefit to WA. So just read that criteria really carefully. It's something that we've tried to think about, but until we really don't know the extent of the demand, other than it's going to be high for the programs, and like I said, we'll just try and fund as much as we can with the money available.
So Nikki, if there's a possibility that you get a sense from the application that the organisation might benefit from the immediate funding but may struggle to exist past that funding, that would be a less competitive application.
Well, most funding bodies don't have no one wants to fund to fail, so that principle would stand as well.
Okay, thank you. So,
Karen, did you have anything to add on that?
You're muted. I'm unmuting you, Karen.
Thank you. Got it. Okay. Yeah, I would agree with Nikki. However, with the events category, the events cancellation category, I think if you can make a compelling argument that you have sunk costs into an event and there are creators or creditors that need to be paid, and you can make a compelling argument about why that would be a worthwhile spend, although you can't demonstrate that you'll be in existence in 6 months, I think that there is an argument to be made there. However, in the grand scheme of things, ideally we'd like to fund something that will still be in existence in 6 months. If that makes sense.
Yes, I think so. Now, I don't know if you'll be able to, if this is within your area of expertise, Nikki, would receiving a Lotterywest grant affect revenue with respect to JobKeeper eligibility?
No.
I don't answer that. I don't think so, Karen.
My understanding, this massive disclaimer here, you have to check this, but my understanding is that for the JobKeeper, it's the first quarter of the year that revenue is taken into account. I don't think it's the period that we're looking at the minute.
Right.
There is also special, one of the latest changes to JobKeeper was they changed the requirement for charities. So their government grants don't count.
Okay, thank you. So it's in a similar vein, if we receive the JobKeeper support to keep staff on, can we still apply for support to cover income lost for artists due to cancelled events?
Yeah, definitely. Yep.
Excellent.
Absolutely.
If a men's shed had to cancel an event, would they be eligible to apply?
They would have to prove that there would have to be a good case of what it is that they're not able to do because that event was cancelled. But theoretically, there's no reason why they couldn't apply.
Yeah, right. And Morris has just said, thank you for the response to his question. He's just concerned that small community clubs will collapse due to not being able to obtain revenue from an annual event to keep them going. So this is in reference to the P&C at the agricultural event. So Brandon's asking, we have an event.
Sorry, Philippa, on that.
Yes.
There is the second stream then. So don't forget that if they can't apply for the event cancellation because of whatever they're not hosting that event, they can certainly look at the sector support or the other programs too. You can look at the ways in which you could potentially do your business differently and apply for funding that way.
So when we were talking, the previous example, that was the relief stream, and then what you're talking now is the resilience stream, is that correct?
Yes. So I'm saying event cancellation, yes, yep. Absolutely. That example, yeah, poor example, but that community organisation could potentially then look at the resilience stream.
Right.
As an alternative. Okay,
have you got that, Morris? Potentially you can look at the resilience section of the program, of the Lotterywest program. Great, thank you, Karen. So from Brianna, we have an event that is funded by several businesses but is owned by a not-for-profit, the Margaret River Bus and Tourism Association. Whilst that business is fairly certain to get through the hardship, by the actual event itself is at a loss for sunk costs, and the budgets are very separate. One does not support the other. So Brianna, is that a question, or you're kind of elucidating an example?
Yeah, thanks for reading that out. Basically, just want to check. I guess I'm hoping to hear that the fact that the actual business itself at the Margaret River Bus and Tourism Association, the fact that they're going to get through this period, that I guess the two will be looked at separately, and that the actual budget itself for the event is very, very different to the actual event. So the actual budget for the Margaret River Bus and Tourism Association, and the two don't dip into each other. So I'm just hoping to hear that this won't, I guess, negatively impact our opportunity to apply, I guess. I hope that makes sense.
Is that clear, Nikki? Are you able to respond to that?
That's quite a specific example. I don't want to give specific advice in this forum. So.
I guess is there, how could I make that more generic?
Can I try?
Yes, please.
If a business supports a not-for-profit, where does the differentiation in governance sit in the applying?
So the Lotterywest can only fund not-for-profits, so they would have to be the applicant. That's the issue.
Right, yeah. So Bren, you'll need to check, yes, your constitution as to whether.
That's right. We've already got the application through, so we're already eligible. So it's not the eligibility so much more. It's just like I don't know how, when events are run as a very separate activity, I guess, to an individual organisation budget. We're just going through the application process right now, and it's quite difficult actually to show that in the process. So we're just wondering if there's a way you can suggest that we show that in the application.
If you're having difficulty showing it, then that probably like what Karen suggested for the other one, that the overall resilience one might be just go for that one rather than the event one. If you're having trouble showing the event's impact on your budget, it might be better off to just go for the resilience one and make a note in that application about that.
Okay, great. I will take that into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Brianna. So Stephanie is asking that she heard that the criteria said there is an anticipated further $100 million to be added to the fund from profits. Is there a time frame on this? Is that going to happen?
Yeah, it's definitely going to happen. It's just all our resources, or nearly all of them, are focused on getting this out. Plus, we've also got our crisis relief program out. So we're working with that, and there's background work on that next $100 million. But yeah, this is what we've got released now is definitely our priority. But yeah, that's definitely our stated focus for the future.
Okay, and so this question probably leads on nicely to that. Will there be other opportunities for events that are funded by Lotterywest for the future? For example, we have an annual summer events program that relies heavily on Lotterywest funding. It also hosts events that our local artists and community groups rely on for participating in.
Yeah, we can honestly say we can't answer that at the moment. Yeah, it's yeah, it would have. There's so much to be decided that would have to go through the board with a new focus. So we just don't know.
Okay. Can I just, so Brianna's just made another comment which I might come back to because it has clarified her question a little bit. Her concern is that if a business is going to be fine and the business is associated with your not-for-profit event, will that penalise you?
No, because we're wanting to see a reliance of it's actually a bonus because it shows that you've got other support to carry you through.
There you go, Brianna. That's a positive. Excellent. Okay, Courtney's asking, with other Lotterywest grant applications being put on hold indefinitely, several arts groups or centres in the Goldfields Esperance region will be able to survive with a skeleton volunteer staffing. However, without being able to apply for funding for programs and activities, it would be likely that communities will experience a rather large delay in a lack of programs and projects. That's a yes, is it, Nikki?
Well, we don't know. We just don't know what's going to happen. These are such strange times that it's the first time in my knowledge that I've ever seen Lotterywest have to change their grants program like this. So we just don't know. The priority in the first case has been getting out that immediate emergency relief funding, which it did really quickly. Lotterywest really quickly pivoted to that. So emergency food and financial relief. And yes, so we'll just have to wait and see what happens.
Sorry, I might just add to that, Courtney. There are going to be other funds coming out through the Regional Arts Fund as well, that Regional Arts WA will be administering. And at this stage, we don't know exactly what they look like, but they potentially have more of an arts focus in order to, but again, please don't hold me to that because that will be determined to a degree by the federal government in consultation with us, but we don't know exactly what they will look like. So potentially that might be an opportunity for you to look at that. Okay, Michelle's asking, if you apply for one of the grants and fail, can you reapply if there are additional funds from a further round? I think the guidelines mention you can only apply once in 2020.
It's a short grant period. It's with a distinct open and closing date. So yeah, you can only put in one application per stream within that window. When we don't know what's coming next.
Right. Okay. Right, so is that clear, Michelle? You're happy with that one? Now, I haven't got any more questions coming through on the chat. Is there anyone who is on a phone who wants to unmute themselves, needs to be unmuted, and would like to ask any questions? Is that somebody? Am I hearing silence? Have we come to the end of our questions then? My goodness. Well, I suppose then all is left to do is to wrap up. Nobody, I'm just, sorry, let me check. I've got 4 screens of faces, so I just need to check nobody's waving at me to try and get my attention as well. Not that I can see. Okay, so now I know that there...
Fiona has a question there, Philippa, in the chat.
Fiona? Oh, Fiona has got some questions around support materials. What are you looking for in terms of proof of cancellation costs?
Whatever you can provide. It's going to be different for each, just whatever's logical and reasonable. We've had to develop this really quickly, so and everyone's understanding that this is difficult. So whatever best evidence you can provide.
If you have a letter from your venue, you know, suggesting that it would be cancelled, potentially quotes, like Nikki says, whatever you have available that can talk to that potential expenditure.
Okay, thank you. And Fiona has commented, sure, you guys are doing great, thanks. So Robert has asked, okay, how will funds that may need to be refunded best be treated in the application, or is that at our discretion? Robert, can I just clarify, does that mean refunded as in you need to pay, you've paid ticketing, people have paid for a ticket and so now you need to refund their tickets. Is that what you're talking about?
Similar to that, so certainly for tickets, but that's not our situation. It's for sponsors, and we haven't delivered anything to those sponsors, so we feel an obligation to them.
Right.
So we've had full support to date, and that's great, but they still expect something will be delivered. And if we can't, we're likely to have to refund. So we've tried to explain that in our application, but also it's not just refunding, it's also the situation that we will, to give them value, we have to deliver an event, and we need to quarantine those funds for the event. We can't offset our cancellation costs against their funds because that's not what they paid for.
Yeah, this is a tricky one. This is we have been in a similar situation with some of these, as in, people are expecting a performance, a tour or a performance, and we've had to talk individually to those sponsors to say to them, okay, well, can we delay, can we change what we're offering you, and those kinds of things. But Nikki, have you got any comment on that one?
I thought you explained it quite well then, Robert. And so, look, use footnotes in your budget, anything that you need to get it across, because it really is case by case. Everyone's situation is a bit different, and this is partly why we're a bit daunted by the assessment, because there's going to be a lot of material for us to understand and get across.
Thank you. And Andrew is asking, what about expected loss of ticket income?
Yeah, you should definitely record that.
Record that. So whilst there's been, okay, so I suppose the expected, how long in advance can people be forecasting Nikki, is that possible?
Well, that's why we've put the September date in there.
Okay.
So it's just to September.
So Marianthi is asking, are staff wages likely to be included in expenses committed or paid?
You mean as an eligible expense?
I presume so. Is that Marianthi?
Yeah, no, that's fine.
That should be fine. So Jenny's asking, our event would have opened in late September, but we've had to take the decision to cancel approximately 6 weeks ago. This has cost us a lot, but the event date is outside September 15. Where does that leave us?
Yeah, sorry, that leaves you ineligible for that, for the event cancellation one, but you might want to look at the resilience funding. So we had to put a cut-off. We didn't know. I mean, we still don't know when restrictions are going to be lifted. So we just had to pick a number to try and pick a date so that we could start getting some money out.
Okay, thank you. Yamaji Arts is asking, if the cancel event was interstate, can this still be considered? Because Yamaji Arts is sort of on the border, or closer to sort of in the eastern part of Western Australia.
Yeah, I think for the some of the Aboriginal groups, the boundaries are fuzzier in terms of what might be looked at. So we'll talk to someone at Lotterywest about that one. Okay,
great, thank you. So Noel is asking, we have 38 cancelled events during the period. Do you want separate income and expense for each event, or can they be summarised?
Yeah, summarise them, please. I don't want to have to read 38 different ones. So yeah, if you could summarise them, that would be good.
Sorry, my apologies, Yamaji Arts, north of Geraldton. I'm sorry, I was mixing you up with, I'll have to think who I was mixing.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, no, Yamaji Midwest. So,
Yamaji Midwest, my apologies. Right.
In general, I should answer the other print. In general, the Lotterywest funding's for WA, so WA events, that's definitely the focus.
Right. So I've got no more questions coming in the chat. I don't think we've got any on the phone lines. Oh, Michelle snuck in. Is there a deadline or a time frame on when resilience-focused projects would need to be delivered? This is a great question.
Oh, that's a good question. Karen, I'm going to flick that one to you.
Okay, I think it's up until the end of the year, but you'll have to double check. Because I know the budgets are for up until the end of the year, so I would imagine it's for that period, yes. Yeah,
that's my understanding too.
And who does she double check with? Is that a call to Lotterywest?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's explicit in the material. I just don't have it at hand.
I just look. It is till the end of the year. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Well, look, I think we might wrap that up there because we are coming up to the hour. I might just, so there are also some regional Department of Local Government, Sport and Culture staff on the call. So I might get you guys to kind of give a wave as well. So Richard, where are you based?
I'm in Geraldton.
You're in Geraldton?
Yeah, Midwest Gascoyne, and I've got Benita, who's also online. She's in the Carnarvon office.
In the Carnarvon office. Hello, Benita. Who else have we got? Is there anyone else?
Simone Fountain here. Hi, everybody. I'm in the Pilbara office, which is located on Nullama land in Karratha.
Great. Any more? Samantha?
Yes, we're in the Wheatbelt office, so the main office is in Northam.
In Northam, great, thank you. And I know the Kimberley guys were going to be on the call. Are you here? So Katie, where are you based?
I'm in Broome, and Maria from Kununurra should be on as well.
Okay. And so we've got Joe. I had Joe a moment ago. I've lost you, Joe. Where have you gone, Joe? Yes, Joe, you're from?
Southwest.
Southwest, in Bunbury you're based, is that right?
Correct.
And Brad, were you waving at me as a DLGC? Right, and where are you, Brad?
Yes, so myself and Erin Bond are based in Kalgoorlie, which is the Goldfields Esperance region.
Right, have I missed anyone? So the reason I'm pointing them out is that, you know, once you've had a chat with Lotterywest and you've worked out eligibility, you could potentially have a chat with these guys to kind of talk about, you know, use them as a sounding board about your applications. If you're needing to scan documents, PDFs, you can pop into the office to see them, and yeah, things like that. So feel free to give them a call, and you know, feel free to give them a call just to have somebody to chat to if you need that as well. Offering, I'm offering DLGSC services around the country, but I'm sure.
Philip, I'm particularly happy to help with sport and recreation applications, of course. I would suggest though that perhaps just instead of cold calling into the office, I'm just mindful of this social distancing at the moment. It might be best just to give us a call in the first instance.
Sure.
And I'm sure that every region will help you. They'll point you in the right direction.
Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you. Oh, Brianna and Noel, I might, just because we're getting towards that time, I might just grab those questions and we'll try and come back to you. Brianna's talking about glitches in the upload process, and Noel's got a particular question about the balance sheet report. I don't know if you can see those questions, Nikki. We might come back to those. So yes, so thank you to the DLGSC staff for being available. Thank you everyone for attending. If there are other topics you'd like us to talk about in the regional chat, please do let us know. We are trying to make them a conversation. There's heaps and heaps of resources on lots and lots of websites, but it is, you know, so much nicer to be having a conversation with people, and potentially also we could be sharing things across the state. So that would be great. So please let us know. Probably the easiest way is to send through an email to info@regionalartswa.org.au. Thank you. Sorry, Kelly from DLG Great Southern is also available to take calls. So thank you to Nikki Miller from Lotterywest, Amber Crate from DLGSC, although you didn't actually hear from you, she was available, and Karen Burrell and the regional staff. We look forward to hopefully seeing you all under a big blue sky sometime. Thank you.